Alright, welcome. In this video we're going to be working Algebra 2 Quiz 1.3, which is a quiz over linear functions. More than just like the equation of the line and stuff like that. It's like the meaning of the slope, the meaning of the intercept, parallel and perpendicular lines, horizontal and vertical lines, things like that. Alright, so we're going to write an equation for the line that's parallel to y equals 4x minus 5. Okay, so parallel lines have the same slope. I know the slope of this line is 4, so I know that the slope of the line I'm trying to write is going to be 4. And passes through the point 2, 3. Well, it just said an equation. So I'm going to use point slope form. That's going to be the easiest way to do this. And we know that point slope form is y minus the y coordinate of the point we know on the graph is equal to the slope times x minus the x coordinate. And, okay, over here. Here we've got 2 points going to be going through, the line L goes through these 2 points. This line is perpendicular to that line. Okay, so I need to find the slope of that line. Okay, so the slope of L is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so I've got negative 7 over 5. So the slope of my line needs to be equal to positive 5 over 7. Okay. Now I'm going to need to do some work over here with this ax plus 2y equals 1 and find the slope of that in terms of a, I suppose. So I'm going to solve for y, and that's going to be, well, I'm going to subtract ax from both sides. I'm going to divide in half. And I gotta be fair, I gotta divide everything by half, but this isn't actually all that important. I just am going to need the slope. So the slope is the number that's attached to the x. Okay, so slope is negative a over 2. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, all right, negative a divided by 2 equals 5 divided by 7. And I'm going to cross multiply, right? 2 times 5 is 10 equals negative a times 7. And a is going to be equal to 10 divided by negative 7. And I'm trying to write my solutions in red. That'll be a equals negative 10 sevenths. Okay. All right. An empty shipping container is filled with boxes. The boxes are each the same weight. The total weight y in kilograms of the shipping container containing x boxes can be represented by y is 2200 plus 350x. If the equation is graphed in the xy plane, what's the meaning of the y-intercept? Okay. That's the y-intercept, right? 2200. And I would say that it's with x equals 0. That's the y-intercept, right? That's what we know from this class. So if x represents the number of boxes, and the number of boxes was 0, well, that would be because the container was empty, and that must be the weight of the container when it's empty. Okay. It did not say to include units of measure, but I'm going to say it's going to be the weight of the container in kilograms when it's empty. Something to that effect would be good in our class. Okay, a tank is completely filled with water. A pump is used to drain the tank. The amount of water remaining in the tank is given by the equation y equals 600 minus 25x, where x is the number of minutes since the pump started, and y is the volume of water remaining in the tank in gallons. This equation was graphed. What would be the meaning of the slope in the context of the problem? Okay, well, I'm going to start with the units to help that guide, to let that guide me. Right, it's the units of y. Y is gallons per unit of x, which is minutes. So if you think about gallons per minute, that's going to be the rate that the water is flowing out of the container. Okay, so meaning of slope, it's the rate. And again, it didn't ask for units, but I'm going to just go beyond and provide it since I just wrote it over here. In gallons per minute of water leaving, or what is it, draining from the tank. That would be a good verb. Okay. And yeah, and so really it's the rate of change in the amount of water in the tank, but we're not going to get into that. That's calculus, right? And so negative 25 because the amount of water is going down, right? Each minute you're losing 25 gallons of water, it would appear. So it must be losing a lot of water. Okay. Now here we've got this like kind of applied geometry situation, A, B, C, and D. Write an equation for the line that passes through points C and B, so we're just going to need a slope. We've got points, we're good to go. So the slope is going to be y2 minus y1, 5 minus 2, over x2 minus x1, negative 6 minus 3. So that would be 3 over negative 9, which is negative 1/3. Okay. And now that I've got a slope and a point, I'll use 3 and 2 because they're both positive numbers. I can write an equation for this in point-slope form. Okay, and I don't think you really like have to have point-slope form memorized. That was a question I got in my class, but it will make your life easier, right? If you have to go and get a slope-intercept version, we're going to have to figure out what the y-coordinate of that intercept of the line that connects C and B is, and well, you know, it's going to be a bad fraction. So me personally, I'm going to decline to do that. I'm going to say y minus the y-coordinate of a point I know is on the line, 3, 2, is going to equal the slope times x minus the x-coordinate of a point I know that's on the line, which is going to be 3. And that's good enough. Walk away. You've got a right answer. Right? And now they're going to ask, is CBA a right angle? Okay, right here. It doesn't even really look like it to me, but who knows? Maybe the figure wasn't drawn to scale. I made this figure, and I kind of just used Microsoft Paint and slapped down the points wherever. So we're going to say, all right, I know that line C and B has slope 1/3. No, negative 1/3. Right? We determined that. So now I need to figure out the slope of line A and B, or the line that connects B and A, or whatever you want to call it. I need to figure out that slope, and if it's not positive 3/1, then I know the lines aren't perpendicular, and therefore it's not a right angle. So I'm going to say, all right, line BA has slope, okay, BA is going to be, you can't even see that, so I'm going to do 24 minus 2 divided by 10 minus 3, and that's equal to 22 over 7. Oh, that's actually very close, right? But it would need to be 21 over 7 in order to be perpendicular. Interesting. Okay, so it's only just a little bit too steep. Yeah, so okay, well, we said that the definition of perpendicular was the slopes multiplied to -1, right? And so what this is, you know, the slope for CB multiplied by the slope for BA is going to be -1/3 multiplied by 22 over 7, which is -22 over 21, which is very close to -1, right? But we need that product to be equal to -1. Okay, this means that CB not perpendicular to, what is that, AB or BA, we were calling it, but same thing. Therefore, angle CBA is not a right angle. That was a good problem. That's the type, there's going to be a question on the test that's similar to that. Just letting you know right now. And now point D is on the y-axis. Okay, I'm going to redraw the diagram. The line that passes through points D, which is here, and A, which I have the coordinates of, is 2/3. And that's going to be enough to find the y-coordinate of D. Okay. A has coordinates 10 and 24. Okay, I don't know the coordinates of D, but I do know the x-coordinate, and that'll be enough, right? So the x-coordinate is going to be 0, and the y-coordinate is yet to be determined. So I'm going to just call it y. And I know that the slope, which I've got a formula for, is 2/3. So 24 minus y, y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1, 10 minus 0, is equal to 2 over 3. Okay, I'm going to just kind of rewrite this a little. Okay, we could cross multiply. We could multiply both sides by 30. We could multiply both sides by 10. And then by 3, you do whatever you're going to do, right? Just make sure it's correct. So I'm going to multiply. I'm going to cross multiply. And so I'm going to have 20 here equals 3 times 24 minus y, which I know this is the type of place where we could make an error. So I'm going to do this first and then distribute. 3 times 24 is 72. I know that because in 3 days there's 72 hours. And then that's minus 3y. And that'll be equal to 20. Yep. And then now we're going to solve for y. Okay, I'm going to need quite a bit more room. So I'm going to come back up here. And I will subtract 20 from 72. So I'll have 0 equals 52 minus 3y. 52 does not divide. 3 doesn't divide 52. Hold on, let me make sure I haven't made an error here. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a rational number, but 52 divided by 3 seems a little off. Well, I'll tell you, I looked for the answer key. I can't even find the answer key we used to grade this thing. That's why I'm right, because I don't want you to just look at the key and be like, oh, I was right, or oh, I was wrong, it's too hard. I want you to know, like, you can do this. But I also double-checked my work. I don't see any errors here. I think it's just a weird number, and there's a lesson in that, right? There's always a message involved, and then the message right now is that your answers in this class are not always going to be integers, right? They're going to oftentimes be rational numbers. So we're going to solve by maybe adding 3y to both sides. That's the bad pen, I guess. Okay, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'll get y equals 52/3. That was, okay, so the y coordinate of d, 52/3. Pardon me. Okay, and then we're going to write an equation for a line that passes through C and is parallel to the y-axis. Great. It'll be much easier. Okay, C looks like it's over here. The coordinates point C are -6 and 5. Parallel to the y-axis, I almost drew that wrong. It's going to be this. I'm going to draw another point that's on that and say, what do they have in common, right? This, I didn't go side to side. I only went up and down, so that's going to be x equals -6 and y equals 0. What do these have in common? Their x coordinate, -6. Okay. And, okay. Yeah, that's going to be all for format. Let's move on to B. I'm going to say, all right, this line has a slope of 6. And goes to the 0.18, so this is really getting at, okay, you can do y equals mx plus b if you want, but you'll have to solve for b. I can use point slope form, and I can say, all right, y minus the y coordinate of a point I know is on the line is equal to the slope multiplied by x minus the x coordinate of a point we know is on the line. Same point. So this is good. And no, you don't have to memorize point slope form, but if you can remember it, it's not very hard to remember. It can make your life a little easier, right? So it's up to you. Okay. If you go for slope intercept form on this, y equals mx plus b, you got to solve for b, and you got to be right. Okay, I didn't have to do that, so I'm less risk here just by knowing point slope form. And if you're going to take calculus, you're going to need to know point slope form for that course. So suppose L is the line in the xy plane that passes through these 2 points. If the line defined by that equation is perpendicular to L, what's the value of A? Well, I need to find the slope of L, and then I'll find the slope of my other line because it's got to be perpendicular. So the slope of L is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that's going to be 5/3, right? Meaning that the slope of my line, ax plus 2y equals 1, needs to be equal to -3/5. Okay. Now I need to solve for y in this ax plus 2y equals 1 type situation. And I'm going to subtract ax from both sides. Divide by 2. Got to divide everything by 2, though, right? We're dividing both sides of the equation. And so now I know that the slope is also equal to negative a divided by 2. Right? The slope is that number that's attached to x, and y equals mx plus b. And I got to set them equal to each other because I know it's the same. Negative a divided by 2 equals negative 3 divided by 5. I'm going to cross and multiply, so negative 3 times 2 equals negative a times 5. Now I'm going to divide by negative 5, and I'll get a is negative 6 divided by negative 5, which is the same as positive 6 over 5. Now, empty shipping containers filled with boxes. Boxes are each the same weight. Weight in kilograms, the total weight in kilograms of the shipping container with the boxes in it can be represented by 2200 plus 350x, right? Where y is the weight. What's the meaning of the slope of the line in the context of the problem? I am encouraging y'all to start with the units of the slope and kind of like let that guide you to the meaning in this course. So the slope has units given by units of y. It's kilograms by units of x. Well, that's boxes. Kilograms per box. Oh, okay. So that's 350 kilograms for each box. Each box weighs 350 kilograms. You'd say for each box you add, the total weight increases by 350. That's an option. You can say that the rate of change in the total weight is going to be 350 kilograms per box. That works as well. Okay. There's a number of ways we can write this while saying the same thing, right? Okay, now we've got a draining tank. Okay. Tank is completely filled with water. Pump is used to drain the tank. Amount of water remaining in the tank is y equals 600 minus 25x, where x is the number of minutes since the pump started and y is the total volume of water in gallons. If this equation was graphed in the xy plane, what would be the meaning of the y-intercept of the graph? Well, that's going to be the 600. And if it's kind of like a starting value, and then we lose 25 gallons per minute, okay, I'd say that when it was completely filled, it had 600 gallons. But you could have said that it started off with 600 gallons before it started draining. Any sort of thing that has to do with like the filled amount or the starting amount. That would be the idea. Let's move on to that. Hey, here we've got this good applied geometry situation. And if you came straight to Form B, the advice I'm giving you about this problem is pay attention to this whole back side, right? Because there are similar problems on the test. Especially number 6 with the right angle thing. That's something kind of different from what was on the notes or the homework or whatever. And so if you see that, keep that in mind, because it's not just for no reason that I would put something on the quiz, right? The quiz is designed to help you prepare for the test. So you know what that means. Okay. Write an equation for the line that passes through points B and A, gladly. I'm going to need a slope, and it just said an equation, so I'm going to use point slope form. So I need to get the slope between points A and B. Okay, I'm going to do y2 minus y1, 23 minus 2, divided by x2 minus x1 is 10 minus 3. That's going to be equal to, what is it, 21 over 7, which is equal to 3. Oh, cool. All right, that's great. And I've got a point. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I might pick 3 and 2 because the numbers are smaller. It really doesn't matter. It's all positive. You could use 10 and 23. I'm going to say y minus the y coordinate is equal to the slope times x minus the x coordinate. And that's a perfectly valid That's a perfectly valid response. We could also have, done slope-intercept form, and, that would be another equation. Said an equation. It's one equation, not multiple equations. Okay, now we're going to determine if CBA is a right angle. Okay, so we're going to just need the slope line that goes through A and B, and then the slope of the line that goes through B and C, and check to see if they're perpendicular slopes. Okay, so the slope of line through B and A is equal to 3. Now we need to figure out what the slope of the line going through C and B is going to be, okay, the slope going from B to C is going to be, I'll do 5 minus 2, divided by negative 6 minus 3. So that's 3 over negative 9. Okay. And then we are going to say, oh, okay, that's equal to negative 1/3. Okay, these are perpendicular slopes, but I can't just say, okay, this slope is this, that slope is that. Yes, okay, that's not justifying our answer. That's halfway justifying our answer. But what causes something to be perpendicular? In my class, we said the definition of perpendicular was the product of the slopes is -1. So I'm just going to multiply slope 1 times slope 2. That's going to be 3 over 1 times -1 over 3 is -3 over 3, which is -1. As a result, I know that line BA is perpendicular to line CB. And from that, I know that CBA is indeed a right angle. Right? And that's how we would do that. Okay. Point D is on the y-axis. But we don't know the y-coordinate, right? That's what we're hoping to find. But we do know the slope of the line that passes through D and A is 2/3. Okay, so rather than going all the way back up, I'm just going to draw a diagram. Okay, and we know that slope is 2/3. Okay, the coordinates of point A are 10 and 23. And the coordinates of point D are, well, we don't know them. Well, I do know the x-coordinate is 0, right? Because it's on the y-axis. That's right there. And then y is, well, yet to be seen. And so I know I've got a slope formula, and I know it equals 2/3. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is equal to 2/3. I'm going to cross multiply these things. So 2 times 10 minus 0, well, that's just going to be 20. Equals 3 times 23 minus y. I'm going to distribute the 3 over that, and I'll have 20 equals, that would be 60 and 9, minus 3y. And then I'm going to maybe subtract 20 from both sides. Okay. And from there, I might subtract 49 from both sides of the equation. And then divide both sides by -3. And then I would see, okay, y is going to be -49 divided by -3, which I know is the same as 49 divided by 3. I know that 49 divided by 3 can't be reduced because the only way you can factor 49 is 7 times 7. And 7 and 3 don't have any common factors. So that's going to be as far as we can go, right? And then last, we're going to write an equation for the line that passes through point B and is parallel to the x-axis. All right, point B has coordinates 3 and 2. Okay, I'm going to put in another point. Let's see, we are not going up and down, we're just going left and right. So it's going to change x. X is going to be 0. But y is unchanged, so it's going to be 2. And I think, what do these 2 points have in common? They have their y coordinate in common. That's going to be y equals 2. And that's all for quiz 1.3. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped.